The Shepherd hatchet chopper was designed to be used for particularly dense nuclei. It's very thin in one diameter so that it will penetrate the lens easily, and it's thick on the other diameter so that it will separate the fragments. There are several subtle bends in the tip so that when it's used in the left hand through the stab incision, the blade will be parallel to the long axis of the phaco tip. Now, this was a dense lens that we performed the capsulorhexis on utilizing icy green, which explains why the green tint is present. The secret to fracturing dense nuclei is to get both the phaco tip and the chopper below the level of the anterior Y suture. So we start at about a 45-degree downward, burrow in with the phaco tip, and then do a similar thing on the opposite side with the chopper. I then rotate the lens so that I can be sure that there's a fracture in complete hemisections. Once this is performed, the phaco tip can get somewhat deeper, and it makes the fracturing much more easily. In this case, since there's a small rhexis, we're going slightly under the capsule. Usually this is in front of the edge of the capsulorhexis. You can see how easily these fracturing can take place. This nuclei is a brunescence cataract, somewhat more difficult. We place the tip in by flipping it over in a backhand motion and then rotating it so that it will go through a small stab incision. And here we're just removing some of the loose epinucleus so we can get right down to the dense center part of the nucleus. Burrow in again with the phaco tip and press downward with the hatchet chopper and separate. The nucleus as dense as this will be removed more rapidly if you chop it into 6 pieces or even 8 as opposed to 4. This does not take a large amount of suction. Our suction on this instrument at this point is only 100 millimeters of mercury. You can see that the hatchet chopper is also well utilized to manipulate any of the fragments as well as retract the iris. It does not have a sharp tip, so it will not penetrate the posterior capsule. In the soft nuclei, one needs to utilize the broad diameter to create enough resistance to make the fracture. These nuclei can actually be more difficult to do than harder ones because they tend to tear and not fracture. And the old round choppers tended to just tear through without getting any purchase on the nucleus. Here we're removing some of the cortex burrow down and chop through and separate. And we're just repeating this several times for demonstration reasons. Ordinarily we would just make about a 4-quadrant chop in this case. And just to demonstrate the ability of this chopper to be used as a manipulator, we're showing the entire phaco fragmentation of this lens. When I get down to the last piece, I like to place the tip behind the fragment to protect the posterior capsule. You can see I'm doing this with the tip down, and yet it does not penetrate the posterior capsule.